Welcome back to my channel, Life as Juliana. Today we are making my famous crispy vegan fried chicken tofu with sweet and sour sauce, and it is going to be off the chain. Now make sure that you have subscribed and turn on those post notification settings to be reminded whenever your girl upload a brand new video. Let's jump right into the recipe.
You don't remember where you're coming from. You don't remember where you're coming from. Rastafari, why you turn your back on your brother when him need you? You don't remember the days and when him feed you. You know when no obligation but you owe him some respect. All you need to do is just give him what you forget. Turn your back on your brother when him.
Okay, love bugs, this recipe I made at an event and everybody was confused if it was vegan or non-vegan, and I'm going to share it with you now. You need your tofu. This is a fried chicken recipe and we are using tofu to make this recipe. Now if you want to make sure, the first thing you'll do is make sure you're going to get that liquid out of the tofu, but cut it into like 4 pieces. I'm going to insert a link below to show you how to make tofu. Otherwise, you don't want to make it, just go ahead and buy it in the store. It's not very expensive at all. Now what I did though, I got a paper towel and I kind of wrapped it to get a lot of that moisture out of the tofu. Make sure you do that. And then when you get done doing that, you want to go ahead and put it inside of your freezer and let it freeze overnight. You want it to become like ice, like a rock, totally frozen, right? And wait until next day. Next day when you take it out, let it sit and thaw, and you can see the texture change once you do that. Get a clean paper towel and gently pat into your tofu to get most 90% of that liquid out of the tofu, and you can see the texture when you do that. The texture totally change. Tofu changes once you freeze it. When you're making like beef or any kind of recipe, put it in your freezer and let it freeze and becomes ice. Take it out next day, pat dry it, and the thing is going to be just like meat. I kid you not. Just make sure you take your time with it and get the moisture out of the tofu, just like that, right? Now when you get done doing that, it's time to break it into your desired piece. As you can see how the texture is totally changed. That is exactly what we're looking for. You want to go ahead and just break it into your desired pieces that you're going to need to make your chicken, your fried chicken, right? Whether you want to make little nuggets or you want to make big pieces to eat with some vegetables or some rice or potatoes or whatever you want, you're going to decide how big and how small you're going to do it. So that is perfect right there, like really perfect. That is how you want to have it done. Make sure you get the moisture out, because if you don't get the moisture out of the tofu, it is going to be ruined once you start dipping it into the flour mix. Now go ahead and set it aside and just let it hang out while we move on to the next step. Now that leftover right there, we're not going to waste that. I always just gather it up and just make a little ball out of it. I don't waste anything, and just put it into the mixture as well, right? 1 2 3. Now to move on, you need some rice flour. That's what I use, but you could use whatever kind of flour that you choose to use. Then I added 1 cup of the rice flour into a container. And yeah, you could use whatever, like I said before, but I like the feel of the rice flour. I went in with some nutritional yeast flakes to it, and I did add to that I did add 1 1/3 cup of the nutritional yeast flakes. Then I added some cornstarch. If you don't have cornstarch, you could use tapioca starch. It is just as good. 1 1/3 cup of that as well. It's going to give it that nice little crisp, extra crisp to it. Then I added some garlic powder, and I added 1 teaspoon of the garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of the onion powder. Guys, make sure that you're taking notes of all the measurements because they will not be written down in the description box. All right, we'll go through everything. Then I also added some chicken seasoning. The chicken seasoning is going to give it a whole lot of flavor, And I went in also with 1 teaspoon of the chicken seasoning, cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of the cayenne pepper as well. Went in with some turmeric powder, 1 teaspoon of that as well. Then I added some white pepper grounded. I added 1 teaspoon of that. And your salt, you're going to do as needed. How much salt that you want to put, you don't have to put salt, but I did add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt to mine just to give it a little bit of flavor, right? But the salt is always optional. Then I went in and gave it a good mixed combination just to get the nutritional yeast flakes spreaded throughout the flour, the rice flour. Now for my egg substitute, I am using unsweetened applesauce, and again, you could use whatever that you like, but I find that whenever I use the applesauce, it turns out really nice. Now it's time to go ahead and dip my tofu into the flour mix, and you want to be really gentle with it. Just be nice and kind, because if you don't, then it's going to crumble and it's going to fall apart, especially if you didn't get all the water out of it. Just go ahead and sit it into a separate container and let it all chill out, and you just keep going until you get all of your tofu covered with that good flavored flour mix, right? Just like that. Just be gentle with it and just set it aside, and yeah, you should be good to go. This is one of them recipes that it's not really time consuming, but it's worth the time because it's gonna be real good. That is what it looks like when you are done basting your chicken. Now you're not done yet. With that same mixture, you go ahead and add your corn flakes, and I added 1 cup of corn flakes to it. Go ahead and crumble it together, but don't crumble it to the point where it disappears. You still want to have that crunch. You want to be able to see it into the flour mix, right? And that looks really good. Don't add no sweet cornflakes, you just plain old-fashioned cornflakes. Now into your container is your egg substitute. You go ahead and you add your chicken, your tofu, your chicken into that. Dip it into the flour mix and just gently sprinkle on the chicken, right? Gently, just be gentle with it, honey, because the more gentle you are with the chicken, the better it's gonna come out, right? Just like that. Just be gentle, nice and gentle with it. Yes, because it's already doing its magic right there. Then you want to go ahead and just continue to do all the other just like that and set them in a separate container by themselves. You don't want to clutter the whole thing together. You want them to just sit and hang out and chill out, right? Just like that. Very simple. Just keep doing it until you get everything all done. And yeah, you should be all set to go. You are going to love this recipe, I'm telling you. I mean, everybody was fooled when I made this. Nobody could believe that this was not chicken for sure. I'm telling you, you are going to love it. Yes, boom. Alright, so now I'm all done doing this and doing that, and my tofu is all set to go with my second coat. It's time to fry. Now my fryer is 350 degrees in heat. You want to make sure that this thing is nice and hot, right? When you put this tofu in, this chicken into the fryer, you need it to fry immediately. Do not overcrowd the fryer. You want them to fry with space, so that way your flakes don't fall off your chicken when you are frying. And of course, you could make them bigger than I did, and you could make them smaller than I did. It's going to be your choice to fry the size. Dip them in. 2.5 minutes later, that's what they look like. 5 minutes later, they are perfectly done. It does not take long to fry. You don't want to over fry it. If you pass 7 minutes, that means it's overdone. right? At 350 degrees, this thing is going to be done nothing past 7 minutes. That is looking oh so yummy. Now let's make the sauce, the sweet and sour sauce, where you're gonna need to go with this thing. In a pot, I added about half cup of ketchup. You could add more based on how many you made. Then I added about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I also added a half cup of pineapple juice to the mix, 3 tablespoons of brown cane sugar, and then I added 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and I gave it a good mix. Right? Just mix it, just combine everything nice together. After I did that, I went in and I added 1 tablespoon of the cornstarch, added a little water to it, gave it a good mix. You want to make sure that you get it nice and smooth, and then I dunked it into the mixture like that, and I start to stir immediately. That way there is no lump into my sweet and sour sauce. After I got done doing this and doing that, this is optional, but I love to add a little bit of food coloring to my sauce. Just a bam 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 salt, just a little bit, just a little bit, because you don't want to override it, right? And of course right there you could add more water if you like, but give it a good little boil for about 3 minutes, and then you're all good to go. Now honey, my chicken is ready to be served, and this is so good, so good. This tofu recipe is a showstopper, and I really love to do different things, and this chicken recipe right here is one of those recipes that I'm so happy that I did for my guests. They enjoyed this chicken. Look at it right here. When they break into it, inside of that thing is just like chicken. It is just like chicken, and the flavor of that thing is on point. On point. No, look at that closer. That is some good fried chicken. Can you imagine how that is tasting right now? I was a happy camper as much as they were super happy. When I went in and I dipped it in that sweet and sour, homemade sweet and sour sauce, oh la la, this thing was super on point. My third eye was happy as can be. Look on that. Let's say, now goody. Now you tell me if this is not something that is worth trying. You're gonna fool everybody. No, look at the one in the oven, how it is. This is done in the oven. When you break that thing open, the texture is a little bit different on the outside because of course it's baked in the oven, but the flavor is everything. The same thing, the texture is just a little bit more dense in the oven, but the flavor is everything. All that white meat on the inside, that is chicken. Dip it in the sauce, same way I did the one in the deep fryer. Oh man, the thing is massively good. I always tell you guys that my recipes are massive, but this one is a showstopper. I'm kidding you not. I have like tons of orders for this recipe that's coming soon. I hope you did enjoy it though, and make sure to turn on those post notifications. All right, and yeah, let me know what you like to see me cooking next in my kitchen. And as always, from my kitchen to your kitchen, enjoy.